SSRL. accept.
Tonight, the Spartan Sim Racing League starts a new era. Tonight, its Truck Series gets underway with a 75-lap feature under the lights of an iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. We're glad to have you with us for the start of a new series and a new season here on Grid Vision. Justin Prince, Nick Stein with you, with our producer Austin Darbyshire. Can we get ready to go racing from the World Center of Racing? Super Speedway Racing, 75 laps, a packed field of 20 drivers, all very competitive. It should be fun, Nick.
Oh yeah, I am very excited for this. It's plate racing with the truck. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I cannot wait for this thing to get started.
It's going to be interesting how tonight in turn plays out here at Daytona International Speedway, a very cold racetrack here in the late September skybox. In turn, though, tonight, the drivers getting ready for the first Truck Series campaign. 12 races a part of the schedule all the way through to December 21st before the start of the first full campaign in 2024. All this coming from a series coming off its second ever Cup Series campaign. So as we get ready for tonight's action, let's talk about, in turn, what's coming through the pipe entering this race here at Daytona. Just a few days ago, we had action with the Champion Truck Series, as well as Grid Vision Super Speedways. Talladega Week is currently underway, meaning NIS Open and the GRL are at Talladega on Friday and Sunday, respectively, while RGR, the chase for the Kailu Cup, is at Darlington. That being Sunday evening, we run Grid Vision. But for the next few weeks, all the way through to December, you'll be seeing these truck races with this series here on this spot. Let's talk about how things are expected to go here tonight. 75 laps is talked about, but a stage at lap 35. Fuel limit 60%, which means about 21 laps on gas. In turn, the pressure is on to do well to start. Already, just a week ago, they held a recruiting race where they put the stakes up to $10 for the winner. The pressure's on to try and win to start off in Season 1 to set the tone for Race 1. Nick. Your thoughts on this series?
Well, it's going to be a very exciting series here. I believe it's a paid entry league, so every race that they race, you have to pay a $10 entry fee. I'm not sure what the prizes are going to be set up here for a 20-driver field, but I heard that you can definitely win some serious money doing these type of races.
And keep in mind, fixed setups as well. Setups brought to you by EPI for this respective campaign. But as we get prepared for tonight, let's talk about some of the drivers. Some of them, just for the disclosure part, are drivers you work with Prodigy Esports. They're amongst some of the big drivers coming in. And there are several pending drivers looking to register that are big names alone that are on the outside looking in to start the season, like Road to Pro contender Lee Salvaso and Cody Porter over from Express Esports. To say the very least, the demand for this series is high.
Oh yeah, you have some of the biggest names in iRacing. I mean, I've seen names such as Justin Levine, he's registered for this race. Alex Murray, he's registered for this race. He's another big name. I believe he's actually 6th in NIS season so far this season in Division 1, so he's definitely a big name. There's just a ton of big names in this series, and it is going to be action-packed in the track.
Drivers meeting still underway amongst the drivers as well registered tonight. Brandon Edstrom, Jacob Snyder, done very well in the open competitions in official racing. Raymond Root, also someone to keep an eye on tonight. Dave Poots Jr., the owner of this series and co-commissioner. And in turn as well, we'll keep an eye on which drivers work together tonight. But in turn, when it comes to this package, what are your thoughts on how it races at Daytona? Because Talladega week with fixed setups, seeing the middle line really pop in. Daytona, it's not so easy to go 3 wide.
Oh yeah, especially at Daytona, we're not really going to see much of the inside line. To start the race, I think the inside line is definitely going to be the preferred line, but I was talking to a few drivers throughout the night, mainly the Hogue brothers, Tom Hogue and Bob Hogue. They were talking that they thought the middle line, and especially if it's too wide, that the second line is really going to be what's going to be the preferred line due to how powerful the side draft will be with the truck here. Because he thinks, I talked to Bob specifically, and he said that he really thought that side drafting was going to be a very big thing here.
We'll see how big it in turn is amongst the field. It has been a big factor during Talladega week action. Still have about 5 minutes to go in the drivers' meeting before things advance. The grid set to initially start at 9:10, but drivers still making sure they get the last discussion points coming in. It's important to make sure you are on the same page, you have to think, though, for a start of a series, because this is the standard that you set. You have a good race tonight, the bar's set high. You have trouble in the race, well, you have to raise the bar after that pretty substantially.
Oh yeah, I know all about racing that bar. I do it in a ton of leagues, week in and week out, and it is not a fun thing to do. So you definitely want to have a good night, especially as we said, how stacked this league is. You definitely need a good night.
So, the prize money being discussed over the radio for this respective season already. Every race, the top 3 will receive $15, $10, and $5 respectively. That officially confirmed to drivers just over the radio now. In turn, lots of cash on hand, as you mentioned. You multiplied that by 12. That's at least a few $100 per respective season for the first campaign, depending on your top 3 spots.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be a popular one, especially with the trucks. The trucks are a lot of fun to drive. I personally don't drive them that much, but I will start to drive these more as we get closer and closer to next year. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what all kind of strategies start to play out here tonight, and how the different team affiliations really start to show themselves as we get later and later into this race.
Some of the teams, by the way, we talked about already, Prodigy Esports, they have one of the bigger presences. In fact, Alex Murray already jumping on the box to help his respective drivers. Amongst those also in the series, Team Buster's Corner. Also keep an eye on Relaxed Racers, Charles Abert, a part of that. Back Row Bandits with Mike Burnett. Zoo Zolst Racing is a part of the tonight's start of the campaign. And you also have several partnerships of friends ready to get going. And that doesn't include the fact that several setup representation drivers are in the field, not just EPI respective drivers, but those representing Ryko in the respective campaigns, and several more. We'll talk about that more in depth as the night goes on how they partner up as the evening progresses. But the last of the discussions come in. Your keys to win to start the season at Daytona.
I mean, well, it's obviously going to be survival. Survival is the biggest thing you need to... Yeah, it's just the biggest thing in general, especially at plate tracks. You have to survive the race. You need to survive everything. All the wrecks, getting on pit road, doing all the things that you need to do to make sure you put yourself in as good a position as possible. Secondly, you got to find your friends. Find your friends early, find them often. That's going to be the biggest key, or the second biggest key tonight is finding your friends, finding your teammates, and finding that may not be a teammate. And then finally is getting on pit road. This is one of the, I'm not going to say it's one of the trickier pit roads to get into, but if you're pitting with a pack under green flag conditions, it definitely can be tricky. So you just got to get on pit road. Get on pit road, get off pit road, get it done as cleanly as possible. Make sure you don't get a drive-through penalty for exiting too early, and it's just, you know, I got to go back to that survival point again. I can't stress it enough how important surviving tonight is going to be.
Just a few moments away from the start of tonight's action. Once again, here from Daytona International Speedway. Glad to have you with us once more tonight here from the Speedway. Just about 1 minute away from the starting grid. You mentioned the keys. Who do you think are going to be the main players to start off Daytona based on what you've seen?
Well, I mean, just based off of qualifying times, you got to look at Philip Henry. He's currently top of the points right now with a 51.838. I mean, of course, qualifying really doesn't mean much at a plate track, but it definitely helps you get a look at some of the names. But I'm expecting a lot of the, you know, affiliated teams with like setup shops to be important. I mean, we mentioned Prodigy Esports there with Ryko, so they'll definitely be strong, knowing their teamwork and how they work on plate tracks. I mean, you got to take a look at some of the other teams. I believe you said there was an EPI affiliated team in here, correct?
Well, there is EPI setups at the very minimum.
Oh, well, yeah, there is that. But if there is EPI affiliated drivers, I definitely expect them to be strong tonight. So it's just, you know, we're really going to have to see how this plays out throughout the night and who can work together, who can work with who. And it's just going to be kind of a, I don't want to quite say guessing game, but it's definitely going to be something we're going to have to keep.
So we'll see which drivers come up on top tonight amongst the guessing game. We're just about to make our way towards the starting grid for tonight. 20 entrants have made their way to Daytona International Speedway. Only one can come away with the first win in Truck Series history for the Spartan Sim Racing League here tonight. This is all while they have ambitious plans for next year to have the Cup Series Xfinity cars, the trucks, the Tour Modifieds, and the Cars Tour to all have respective series, part of their expansion plans of 2024. But with the start of the Truck Series in its history, we start off the 2023 campaign. Philip Henry of the Legacy Academy starts on the pole tonight. He'll start alongside one of the Prodigy Esports drivers, Brandon Edstrom. Row 2 features Edward Marshall. He'll start alongside Kendall Levron. Steve Martini starts alongside Raymond Root. Then it's Tanner Marty alongside Jacob Snyder. It's rounding out your top 10. The Back Road Bandit Racing Machine of Mike Burnett starts alongside Bob Hogue in one of the Hogue machines.
Starting in 11th place is going to be Jordan Sailors. He's going to start next to Blair Holloman, one of the Rat Pack Racing entrants. Starting in 12th position, or 13th, excuse me, is going to be Bobby Forbes with Kevin Zosiak to his outside. Starting in 15th is going to be Charles Aber with Adam Glatfelter in 16th. Starting 17th is going to be Matthew Gaskins for 4 Wide Motorsports with Tom Hogue, the other Hogue entry, going to be starting in 18th position. Dave Fuge is the owner of the league. He's going to be starting in 19th, and starting in 20th position tonight is going to be Rob Yost Jr.
That's what top to bottom at your running order here tonight from Daytona International Speedway. Start off the brand new campaign. Remember, tonight's distance 75 laps here at Daytona. Stage caution at lap 35. Fuel limit 60%. So 11.2 gallons in the tank. Fixed setups brought to you by EPI. So in turn, should be fun. Final thoughts before we get things started here tonight from Daytona.
Well, I mean, there's just not much. It's just it's going to be a survival game, as I said in my keys to the race. It's pretty much the name of the game. So we'll have to see how these guys are going to race throughout the start of this race, through this first stage. I believe you said the stage was lap 35. So we'll have to see how they race towards that stage and how fuel window is going to play out, because I believe you said that they're going to be a little bit tight on fuel coming to the end of the stage.
You did the math. It's about a 21-lap run, give or take, based on the estimates of 35 laps in the draft. It could get interesting for how things break down tonight. Just about all set to get underway for the start of a brand new series campaign. And you mentioned the drivers' potential to work together. Not too many friends are together to start off. Keep in mind, you still have drivers from the Legacy Academy looking to jump in through the doors. The Henry Boys machine on its own right now tonight. You have the Prodigy drivers spread apart. Not really anybody lined up already We'll see how they work together, try and shuffle already. Indeed, we're just about set to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm kind of sitting here just watching because you don't know who's all gonna work with each other and how everything is gonna play out. That's the thing of coming into a league like this, not really knowing what all's gonna happen as I come into the green flag here.
A brand new series, a brand new season. We're all set to go for the first race in the history of the Spartan Sim Racing League's Truck Series. We're underway from Daytona.
Something I thought we'd see a lot earlier is a little bit more organization. That outside line is definitely looking a lot more organized compared to the inside. We'll have to see how that plays out here on this first lap.
Already making the way to the back straightaway for the first time. Of note, Bobby Forbes elected to not keep his starting spot. He's already out of the pack from starting the pits. Oh, wow. The push is on from Edstrom. He tries to get some help from Levron to try and lead the first lap in series history. Henry getting the help on the inside from Edward Marshall. But it's going to be Edstrom who leads the first lap in the history of the Truck Series for the SSRL.
That outside line definitely holding momentum right now. It really seems like that outside line is going to be a lot more powerful than we originally thought. So if they keep it organized, that's definitely going to be where everyone's going to start to migrate up towards as soon as we get a little bit further into this first run. But for right now, lap 2, they're all about 2x2, 200-mile-an-hour pace laps, as my idol Michael Waltrip said.
Well, it's about 190 miles an hour in the trucks tonight. However, there is a lot of strength in the tandem draft. Right now, the patience level's high. Taking a look on board, this is from Marshall. He's one of those working tonight with a couple of competitors throughout the field, amongst those in their respective lines. Dave Fuge and Jordan Sailors in some of those premier base trucks.
Going through turn 2, they're still really even. It looks like everyone's being really, really patient right now, just really trying to figure out what everyone's able to do. We're really not seeing that many aggressive pushes, which, I mean, you really can't push that aggressively in the truck. You really need to kind of, bump it. That's where the term bump draft came from. Just kind of bump them down the straightaway, and you're not really able to push as aggressively as you could say in like the Xfinity car or the Cup car. So we'll have to see how that materializes over the night. But right now, just everyone having a lot of patience and kind of waiting.
Still trying to sort out the lines. No major shuffles for the time being. Everyone's staying in groups. But there is a few drivers on the bottom line losing the pack already. Blair Hollyman, who is dressed up tonight as a U-Haul truck, has already fallen back just like that, though, went to the top side because the driver on the bottom side is having technical issues. Though that scraping is Matthew Gaskins. And these two, him and Robbie Oast, nearly lost the draft trying to follow the bottom line before this shuffle.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt the momentum of the bottom line. There's a lot more trucks on that outside line, and that's going to lead to a lot more momentum coming off of these corners. So that's where you get the runs. Was they get a little bit hairy on the outside line? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, and that shuffles out Levron, and just like that, the Prodigy machines line up. 1, 2, 3 on the top line. Backyard Bandit Racing Machine also follows suit, and Burnett. And it looks like the plan to shuffle Levron, if it was a plan, works well. There's your first team alliance hooked up.
The 3 Prodigy Esports drivers on the top. This is going to be where we're going to see a lot of momentum build here. They are together, and they are here to fight, and this is really going to set the tone for how this race is going to play out. Because if they can get to the front and get to that bottom and start blocking any runs, should they choose to block any of that momentum, that's really going to control this race. But it's all mostly going to be about staying together. Oh man, RJ Root in that 7 machine getting a little bit loose on the outside. That's another thing we're going to have to keep an eye on. Is you really say you're looking at the Cup car, you can see a lot of pushing the pusher. That's not really something that you can do with the truck, because that'll just send someone sideways. So just that's really going to be something we're going to have to look at with these team alliances and how they're keeping momentum in these lines.
As Jamid Wav has led all but one lap so far, here on lap 6 already. So about a quarter of the way through the fuel run expected tonight. Amongst those able to pick up some spots, Gaskins, Tom Hogue, Dave Foots Jr. have gained 4 spots respectively. Amongst those electing to go back or being forced to go back is Levron -6. Forbes from the pit lane -7 of the early going. So right now, already you have to be thinking, because of the fuel mileage, just how you're going to plan things out to get the stage points, because we're talking a 2-stopper likely in the first stage alone, unless you can save some gas, and then it becomes interesting if you can make it to the checkered.
Well, I'll tell you how that's most likely going to play out, at least for this first pit stop, is we're going to see a little bit of a movement here. Philip Henry.
That was a little bit aggressive from Henry. And Henry holds onto the top line on the block on Brandon Edstrom. Now it's 3 wide behind him. Up the middle, this time the 39, that's Mike Burnett.
Oh man, I was really not expecting to see a third line form here. This is going to get risky here. Brandon Edstrom's around.
And it's the big one, striking 5-6 trucks get involved in the first caution of the season. And already a good quarter of the field with damage. We're under yellow here from Daytona for the first time in the history of the series.
That was a big one, and I saw that one coming for a while. As soon as they went 3 wide going into turn 3, I already knew that was going to get very risky.
Let's take a look and watch the 74 of Edstrom. Small check, and there's the stack.
Just a stack up on that outside line, and that took out a lot of good race cars. There are a lot of the front runners, too, in this field, so that's definitely going to give a pretty big shakeup to the outlook of this race so far, but that that's not going to quite eliminate a green flag pit stop here. I believe they're going to be, I think it's 3 or 4 laps short, so we're going to have to see how this is going to play out with this field window.
But this does take out the shortstop scenario. But a good portion of trucks getting damage already in this one. Mike Burnett, by the way, the leader from all this. Now,
yeah,
there is a good thing. The new damage models on the trucks, you can fix the damage just about, but you need a lot of time to fix these trucks.
I'm looking throughout the field, and I'm not really seeing, well, of course we're seeing damaged race trucks, but I'm not really seeing anything that would be considered catastrophic. But right now, yeah, just on board there with Mike Burnett. He got, I believe that's Mike Burnett. If I catch it.
Yeah.
That was Mike Burnett that we were on board with?
No, that was Tanner Marty, who has a purple truck too.
I got a little bit confused there, but that was definitely a interesting view, and I bet Tanner Marty's thanking his lucky stars that he doesn't have that much damage. But right now, we're going to be seeing everyone come down pit road right now.
And everybody already taking their service. Matthew Gaskins somehow was able to take his pit stop last time because they were all wrecking towards the pit lane. We'll see how Gaskins gets scored here as Burnett and several more take fuel only. Tom Hogue taking 2 tires. Tanner Marty taking 4 tires. There are 3 tire sets available in the pits tonight, by the way, but since it's Daytona, not as likely to use them. Now, these are the trucks all with damage from the incident. Edstrom, Levron, Root, Snyder, Jordan Sailors. Steve Martini has also come down for damage and already spent more than a minute of damage repairs in the 41 camp. You see him trying to loop around to the field right now. So, those are some of the drivers already with damage. They're at the back of the field in the back quarter. Coming up to the restart around lap 11, we will look to go green.
Yeah, Matthew Gaskins is currently serving a end-of-line penalty because he did go down pit road right on that caution. That's going to result in a end-of-line penalty due to the fact that he was on pit road when pit road was closed because of the caution. So that 79 machine, he may have gotten his service early, but he's going to be going to the back of the field, which, I mean, with how that wreck transpired this early into the race, I don't think that's a bad thing right now.
It's going to be interesting how this all plays out, too, throughout the campaign. So, Bobby Forbes is the only one not to come down so far in this entire field. We'll see if Forbes elects to top off. Remember, Forbes took an interesting decision. He elected to start from the pit lane. And that call now sees him as the leader, but on a different fuel cycle. He needs to come down twice still. Mike Burnett, Edward Marshall, Philip Henry, Bob Hogue, Charles Abert are amongst the top 6 coming up to the restart. Blair Hoyman has also come down to top off again, by the way. And based on the estimates, looking to be around lap 31. The next pit stop's under green.
Yeah, looking through the field, we still got a lot of people attempting to catch the field as they're 1 to green right now going turn 2. So, but it looks like the majority of the people that were involved in that wreck, Blair Hallman, he's back out. Brandon Edstrom's back out. Jacob Schneider, Raymond, they're all back out. So that's good for that team. That team morale in the Prodigy Esports camp. So looks like mostly everyone's going to be able to survive that wreck without too much major damage. So definitely going to be a, how do I put this? Not really a damaging wreck, but still a big wreck nonetheless.
So we're just about all sorted here. Amongst those with the most damage repair for those curious, Raymond Root still has damage after nearly 2 minutes of repairs. Jacob Snyder, nearly 1 minute and 40 seconds of repairs, has no right front fender. Brandon Edstrom has been able to just about fix the entire truck despite being turned across the field. And everybody else has been able to get some or most repairs done. You gotta love the new damage model. Sometimes you get a brand new truck. Sometimes you don't have any fenders.
The duality of the new damage model here on iRacing. I remember, and I bet you can remember this as well, when the truck had the old damage model, you just tapped the wall and your race would be completely over. So I'm glad that they definitely fixed it, but it looks like there still needs to be a little bit of how the damage model brake limits work.
We're talking about more so with the damage repair in some of these cases, but we'll see how this all plays out here now with 65 to go coming up to the green. Bobby Forbes, for the first time tonight, in the race lead. Green flag is out. Back underway here on Grid Vision. And Mike Burnett starting to get that top line built up quick with the help of Phil Henry.
Comes that inside line a little bit, though, because the 16 has gotten up to the 9 of Bobby Forbes. At 16 is Edward Marshall, as the inside line is working on getting it organized a little bit faster. Here comes a little bit of help behind the 16. That's going to be, I believe, Bob Hogue, part of the Hogue brothers camp. See how that inside line builds up, but we're already seeing people just abandon that inside line and get up to that outside, because we saw it on that first initial run. That outside line definitely had the momentum compared to the inside.
About dead even on the lines. No major side drafts yet from Burnett and company, but no major pushes outside that first layer or anyone looking to get close. Big checkup on the inside, though. Outside again prevails down the straight. Mike Burnett takes the race lead. And with that, most of the drivers who were involved in the incident starting to lose the draft, in fact, some of them. Snyder already in the back grouping in 15th, about to lose the draft. He's getting passed by 2 fellow teammates. Dave Foods Jr., he's bringing Matthew Gaskins with him to get around Snyder. Raymond Aroof trying to keep them both in the draft.
Man, they almost wrecked at the front of the field. It looks like the 16 of Edward Marshall, he went up to the top, and there looks like a little bit of a accordion effect. They kept it straight somehow, but just, man, we're going to have to watch those line changes, because that can cause some stack-ups. And, I mean, we saw it with that first wreck. A huge wreck ensued because of a little accordion effect, so just got to be careful with the line changes here.
A big push up for Edward Marshall. And there's the clear from Henry. Abert also taking 2. Kevin Soziak, though, for the first time tonight, he looks to try and lead a line. Soziak looking to get ahead. Still hasn't been able to fill in the run. He is amongst those working with Henry here tonight, as well as Martini.
They trying to go 3 wide there? A little bit further back? Nope, they were quite hooked up there. It looked like one of them had moved to the middle line to try to get to the inside of the 29 of Taryn and Marty. It looks like these 2 leaders seem to be riding the ball a little bit more. But I don't know if that's going to be a preferred line with the truck. I know that's kind of how it is with the Cup car here at Daytona, is you really want to be up next to the wall, but I'm not 100% sure with the truck, but it seems like it's working for those top 2 on the outside line.
It's been that way as well in the open competitions and official racing as well. What I find intriguing most, though, is part of those draft model updates also allow drivers to potentially, if they want to, run the safer barrier. Hold on one second. Marshall wanting to check out. He goes out and pulls out from the lead group.
That tells me someone is not liking what he's seeing. That 16 definitely. He's going to fall back out of the draft now. 156 miles an hour compared to the rest of the draft. A solid 184 right now. So 16 of Edward Marshall. He's going to fall back from the main draft. I don't know if that's a planned maneuver, but it's definitely an interesting call this early in the race and this close to the stage as well.
Kevin Sosiak, meanwhile, for the first time this season, up to the race lead. The Twitch streamer trying to lead the inside line. Tanner Marty behind. But look who's already back up to the front. Second truck on the outside. That's Brandon Edstrom trying to push Jordan Sailors to the lead.
I know Brandon Edstrom very well, and he is not one to give up. So to see him back up in the front of the pack already, and it's what, not even 8 laps after that wreck, that just shows you how fast that 74 truck is and how fast it's going to be for the rest of the night.
He is currently coordinating basically with that partnership of Fuchs Jr., Marshall, and Sailors. They're all those in line with Gaskins in tow as well. Still about 20 laps to go on the stage before we get to the stage caution.
Yeah, definitely looks like that outside line for right now just doesn't have the help it needs to keep up with the inside. And that's part of the numbers game that you see at plate tracks a lot, especially at a track like Daytona, is you need numbers to build momentum. But
oh, Tom Hogue nearly came across the nose of Adam Glatfelter. We stayed green, but it was close to an incident for 13th that could have brought a yellow out.
Yeah, you can already see people are abandoning that outside line right now. It just does not look like the outside line is the preferred line for the moment. But as I say that, here comes Brandon Edstrom with a big push.
Looking for the lead. First time tonight, Jordan Sailors to the point. Does Sailors take the inside? Yes, he does. So that leaves Brandon Edstrom with 3 of the Spartan Sim Racing graphics trucks, or 2 of them should say, along with Kendall Levron.
Yeah, but that outside line is starting to build a little bit more momentum. They have the numbers compared to that first little group of the inside line, and the first 2 trucks are going to clear. The 74 and the 11 are clear the inside line, so is the 79. And the 79 is going to go down.
There goes Gaskins. He goes up to the inside line. And Edstrom, just a tiny bit of fender damage so far on the 74. He's back up to the lead in the span of about 10 laps, halfway through the stage. And now Gaskins gets the push.
This is going to be what we're going to see all night. Just it's a tactical chess game at 180 miles an hour is what I like to call it. And it's just definitely who has the more momentum right now is going to be the name of the game. Right now, both lines are looking very, very even, but you definitely can see where that advantage of the outside line is coming, and it looks like Brandon Edstrom's going down to side draft a little bit in the corners. That's also building some momentum for that outside line.
Yeah, expecting this a lot throughout the night. I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot more attempts at the tandems with how things have broken down so far, because of the powerfulness of just the tandem draft. Seems like everyone just doesn't want to risk that 3 wide here with Daytona with it being tied on the outside or middle.
Oh, trust me, when we get up closer to the end of the stage, and especially at the end of the race, we will definitely see that tandem drafting right now, as that's the 26, I believe, moving up. That's Jordan Sailors in the 55, my apologies.
Jordan Sailors in the 55 to the point. Gaskins left alone with the side draft. And Edstrom goes inside, leaves Sailors out to dry. Now Sailors has the help, though.
He's getting ready to say that's going to hurt the inside there. Brandon Edstrom got a very far out in front of that 79 and Matthew Gaskins, so that's going to hurt the inside line. Uh-oh, they're getting sketchy.
That nearly got risky on the side draft. Edstrom got the lead lap by 2/1000 of a second, though. So the conveyor belt moves up on the top line. Both the Hogue drivers are up at the top, as well as Glatfelter as well. Keep in mind, the inside line is better in the corners, but that outside just seems to be stronger by at least 3 miles an hour once you get the numbers.
Yeah, it's that momentum game that we're going to be talking about all night. The more drivers you have, the more momentum you're going to have. And with how good of a run that outside line gets off, it's almost unstoppable unless you go up there and block that run. But then again, especially with how iRacing physics work, throwing a block like that with how big of a run you could get on that outside is very, very risky this early into the race.
It takes a lot of skill to be the Pied Piper. And so far, no one wanted to risk being the Pied Piper in case the flute gets broken. Looking at the heart of the pack, meanwhile, some more numbers moving to the top side. Some more pokes. Raymond Root is now keeping up in this draft. Right now, 18 of the 20 drivers are in the pack. 1 second, the difference from first to 18th.
Yeah, just a lot of wiggling in this pack. That's kind of what's keeping this race so even right now, because you can see so clearly the outside line has the numbers compared to the inside line, but there's just a lot of wiggling on that outside line. That's going to be hurting the momentum as we have a car coming down to the pits. That's, I believe, the 8 car.
That's Bobby Forbes in the 5, in fact. Remember, Forbes did not pit during the caution. So Forbes has elected to come down to get the fuel. This is his mark. And now lots of discussion as a result of that call over the radio on when others want to pit here, because that window is fast approaching. Remember, the offset, only about 8 laps between Forbes and the rest of the field.
That's going to put these guys' pit stop right at about lap 29, 30, that kind of area.
Oh,
man. Jordan Saylor's throwing us. Oh, that was a nice block.
Dave Fuchs Jr. nearly followed him down. Here comes Enstrom.
Ooh, man.
Oh, and now 3 wide for the lead. Fuchs Jr. elects to let him back in line. And Jordan Saylors gets himself his first lead lap of the season. My goodness, they are not playing careful here.
And this lead pack is, they were wanting to go 3 wide in the corner there. Dave Fuchs he was wanting to take Brandon Edstrom 3 wide on the outside, but this lead pack, they're coming up on a lap car right now. So this will be, I'll be curious to see where Jordan Saylors is going to ask this lap car to go, because that's going to be, that may be a momentum breaker for which line that car decides to stay on. He's going to stay up by the wall, so it's going to get tight here.
That's Martini, who's up against the wall. No troubles for the middle line. We keep going. Was about to say, though, what are the signals as you see the 41 get zipped by here? I've seen a lot of pokes from the 28. Kendall Levron. I don't know about you, but what are the telling signs when I want to go 3 wide? Poke the nose just a touch bit higher up. See if anyone else is willing to follow your nose. Then make the 3rd line work. He seems to be the most active in trying to see that signal.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see the 3rd line be this active this early into the race, but give it a few more laps, and I would not be surprised to see some people try to sneak up to the outside there.
Oh, here we go.
Man, they wanted to. It's going to leave Brandon Edstrom out to dry here. We'll have to see if this line is going to try to get to the outside of Brandon Edstrom. They're going to check up here and keep the momentum going for that outside, but that outside has lost its gusto that it had. It is not staying even with that inside line anymore.
If anything, Dave Fuchs Jr. has given a lot of signals of where he wants to go. The thing I've noticed, though, on the top, though, I can't tell if it's setup or I can't tell if it's the driver preference. They are nearly going up the full lane every corner entry on the top groove.
I think that's going to be a setup thing and how the car is going to drive, because, oh man, that got tight between Kevin Zodiac and Brandon Edstrom, but you see them move up a whole lane. That's telling me that this setup is handling quite tight right now. And knowing that it is a fixed setup, it being the EPI setup, these guys are not going to be able to make that many adjustments. Matter of fact, I don't believe they're able to make any adjustments when it comes to pit stops.
Yeah.
So
the only thing they can, the only thing that can change is brake bias at this point.
And yeah, I mean, you're flat out here at Daytona, so brake bias really doesn't do much. As Dave Fuchs once again looking to the outside of Brandon Edstrom. Doesn't look like Brandon Edstrom's running as high as Dave Fuchs would like him to. So See how that plays out. But for right now, I'm surprised how well that 4-car group is holding up on the outside. So I believe that's Tanner Marty in the 29 as Brandon Edstrom moves down in front of the 55 and Jordan Sailors.
More spiciness and some communications over the radio about pit stops. And some drivers might be coming in now. Yes, they are. Gaskins, Brandon, and Edstrom, and near contact on the track. They're wrecking out the front straightaway. Dave Fuchs Jr. hit by Levron, holds onto it. Half the field pits at lap 26.
We're going to have to see how this plays out with the momentum here. Looking at the replay, though, this is the view of Dave Fuchs. He's coming off turn 4. We're going to see this entire inside line come down pit road, and Kendall Leveron's going to try to give... Oh, there was a block by the 55 of Jordan Sailors. What a save by that 11 machine.
That nearly got very ugly very quickly. But pit stop's complete. Only Charles Abert took tires pit stop. In turn, amongst those, the first out is Edstrom, but the pack is spread out very widely. Just Tanner Marty coming up with Edstrom. Then a 3-car group, then a 2-car group, and that's about it. More pit stops coming up this time by for the rest of the leaders. This likely to determine the stage points. We'll see who maintains the lead lap is the question, with about half those lead drivers who just came down without any help.
Looks like the momentum's getting up pretty quickly. I'm taking a look at RJ Root right now, and he's up to about 170 miles an hour. He's about 10 miles an hour slower than this lead pack here, but he's got some help in the 4-car of Jacob Schneider and Matthew Gaskins right behind him, so he'll most likely be able to catch up with the leader of Brandon Edstrom and Tanner Marty as well to try and get this line moving again. Right now, that lead pack's coming quick.
Leaders are in.
Oh, they're wrecking on pit road.
Oh, and a crash on the entry. That's Zosiak. We stay green. Damage as well for Henry. Zosiak is trying to get going on the racetrack. No one else is around, though, so he can't trigger the caution. Crashes. Jordan Sailors gets hit into his pit stall in the 55.
Drama on pit road for what was the lead pack. That is going to ruin any chance at stage points for that 55 machine. And that's, in effect, going to give Brandon Edstrom the lead. So this is going to be your battle for the stage right here. Pending any extracurriculars coming out of pit road, as that is Kendall Leveron right there. He would be your overall leader right now as soon as he gets passed by Brandon Edstrom.
So just like that, the call of things being separated out works out for the best. Leveron getting passed now by Edstrom. Mike Burnett and Dave Fuchs Jr. are the only two that need to be passed to take over the lead. They are just up the road. It's now a 4-car pack to battle for the stage points. Coming to 6 laps to go. There's Mike Burnett. Dave Fuchs Jr. is working with one of the lap trucks of Edward Marshall, one of his alliance mates, as we come to 6 to go.
A little bit of momentum going to be ruined there as Brandon Edstrom and Tanner Marty got separated, but it looks like Brandon Edstrom and Tanner Marty are going to pass the 11 and the 16 of Dave Fuchs and Edward Marshall, and that's going to put Brandon Edstrom in the lead, and that's going to leave it a 5-truck pack for the stage win.
Let's see in our replay, meanwhile, this is what happened on pit lane. Watch the 55. This is while as the leaders were catching up. Off of Leveron.
Ooh.
And what can I say?
There's not much you could have done in that situation if you're Kendall Leveron. You just have Jordan Sailors cut across from his pit lane there, and you really don't have anywhere to go. That's unfortunate for both, but that happens on pit road sometimes.
So with how things have settled out here, 3 drivers laps down. Edward Marshall is in the best spot for the Lucky Dog in less than 5 laps from now. Martini and Abert also losing laps in the cycle. Bobby Forbes is the next driver who could get lapped here, depending on how things play out. So the 4 drivers leading this respective pack on screen are the ones fighting for the stage points. Last in the stage points right now is Phil Henry in the 3rd main pack.
I believe that's Marshall is the 5th car in this lead pack, and I believe he may be the first car 1 lap down right now. Yes,
exactly.
He is.
But as mentioned, Hollyman and Henry are fighting for stage points at the end of the top 10. You see that on the pylon.
And this is a pretty big pack for your fight for the stage. Actually, just kidding, I lied. This is a pack of 4 right here, but they're working on Tom Hogue, who's in 13th position right now. This entire pack right here, this is all for stage points, if I'm mistaken.
Yes, indeed. So the Hogues working together. The Team Busters corner machines moved themselves to 10th, 11th. Now this gets awkward. If you are relatives, how do you decide who gets a stage point?
I would assume it's the older of the two is gonna get the stage points, but you never know. This is probably gonna turn into a sibling rivalry here.
So that's at the tail end. They do have a chance to get to Rob Yost before the stage ends, though. He's less than 2 seconds up the road, but they have to hurry. There's only 3 laps to go this time by at the stage. Here's a look at some of the other groups, though. You see that next group up? Yost has actually caught it. So that's going to make it hard for the Hogues to work on who gets that stage point, I guess. Capital Levron is leading that group 5.5 seconds back. Here's a look from Yost.
And he is just barely on this draft. It's 0.9 of a second right now is the gap between Yost and Matthew Gaskins. So he's just barely on the fringes of that draft. But that group of 3 right now, including Bob Hogue, Tom Hogue, and Blair Holloman, they are moving right now. 193 miles an hour for Bob Hogue going into turn 3. So this group of 3 is faster than the group in front of them. So it's going to definitely put a little bit of spice to the end of the stage. Is that a car spinning towards pit lane?
I don't see anyone on the pit lane. So we are at pit roads closed. However, here's a look at the main group. Top 4, looking for the top 4 stage point tallies. Somebody's got to have to make the move eventually here.
Bob Hogue has caught this draft, though, for this final little for stage points, and they're going to move to the outside. But right now, we're looking at this lead pack right now. Coming to the end of the stage, I believe the stage caution is thrown right as the leader crosses for lap 35. So
at the end of it. So 1 lap to go with the stage coming up here. White flag out for stage. Who's going to get the top stage points to start the season? Tanner Marty staying lined up. Foods Jr., Mike Burnett also doing the same. For reference, the other drivers are 2 and 3 wide for 5th on back, but the focus stays on the first main stage points of the season. Does anybody leave Edstrom out to dry? Yes, they do. Here comes the Filthy 5 driver, Dave Foods Jr. He's found some help for Burnett. Marty stays committed to Edstrom. 2 by 2. All while Marshall stays as far back as he can. Foods Jr. gets the run on the outside. Edstrom tries to move up. Not able to get there. Green and white checker. Dave Foods Jr. gets the stage points and wins said stage over Edstrom, Burnett, and Marty. Levron at the top of the green and white comes out in 5th. Root, Bob Hogue, Gaskins, Tom Hogue, and Blair Hollyman all in the top 10 at the time of caution. So that puts us just prior to the halfway point of tonight's race, about a 2-stopper to go. You're watching Grid Vision for coverage of the SSRL Truck Series from Daytona.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision for coverage of the SSRL Truck Series from Daytona. It's series opener under the lights from the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida. Joseph Prince, Nick Stein, producer Austin Darbyshire. As we get ready for the restart, strategy is on the menu. We're at halfway in the race after the stage points picked up at lap 35. Already several drivers electing to take this track position and top off instead, including Edstrom, Hollyman, Yost Jr., Root, and more. But the Hogs elected to take two tires. They are the leaders now, coming to 37 to go when we get the green.
That'll put them in great position for this final run because, pardoning any cautions, there should be a green flag stop involved. And we saw how crazy that first green flag stop in stage one ended up being. So that'll put the Hogs in very good position here. That'll put them 1-2, and I would not doubt them to go ahead and get lined up as soon as they can here after this restart.
Amonso's also up front. Dave Fuchs Jr. then lined up behind is Mike Burnett, Tanner Marty, Kendall Levron, Adam Glatfelter, Kevin Soziak, after nearly crashing, is up to 8th. Gaskins and Bobby Forbes, after nearly losing a lap, even with the full tire change, is in 10th position. The last those not to top off. So we're about to see how this all plays out. The top-off strategy also seems to be a solid one because of how tight the fuel margins could be here in this final stage.
That and Brandon Edstrom has shown that he can get through the pack, so he may be planning on him leading into the green flag here.
Speaking of the green flag, restart zone, 2 said green. And Bob Hogue is gone. Someone forgot to send the message to Tom.
Yeah, someone also forgot to send the message to the entire inside line because someone didn't go. I think it may have been Kendall Levron. I don't know if he missed a shift or what, but he did not go on that restart, and that just killed any momentum that inside line had. And then the outside line seems to have disintegrated as well, as there's only 5 trucks on that outside line right now.
Oh, and look who's trying to go up the middle. Brandon Edstrom forced to check up. He wanted all the spots already.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit... Oh, go ahead.
That was Gaskins nearly getting to the back end of Glatfelter as they go 3 wide. That got sketchy with the 44.
Oh, and it's going to continue to get sketchy off of 4 there. Oh, man. These guys, they definitely know how to make it interesting to start a stage here.
Well, finding your friends is key. I didn't say anything about shuffling all your enemies out.
I mean, yeah. I'm sitting here still trying to figure out what just happened because you had one of your outside pole sitters. He's nowhere to be found. I believe he was one of the ones that got shuffled out there.
So here comes Tom Hogue, meanwhile, with the run. Mike Burnett next in line, followed by Matthew Gaskins, then Edstrom. Things have settled out for the most part. Keep in mind, still significant damage for those, including Martini, Snyder, and Raymond Root. They'll need another caution to be able to fix up the trucks more so for the later stages.
I'm looking at this outside line, and they have the organization. They just don't have the numbers to be able to keep up with that inside. Granted, that inside is very organized right now, but it's just it's something surprising considering how, I guess, overpowered the outside line has been tonight. It's a wrecking.
Oh, Gaskins up on the wall.
Oh, big hit.
Caution flags out. Bobby Forbes around. They continue to wreck as you fall on board with the 79 at Gaskins. Edstrom has spun again. Snyder's back on the wall. And Gladfelter also picking up contact. And Zosiak has picked up a warning from race control for an incident point level. He's just blown the motor. At least 2 mandatory damage repair flags as we're under caution.
Man, that took out a lot more good cars. That's the 5 car of Bobby Forbes. He got torched in that wreck. So did Matthew Gaskins. That's also the 44 as well. Adam Gladfelter, he had a couple of hard hits there. A lot of good trucks taken out in that wreck there.
Zosiak confirmed to be out of the race now with mandatory damage repairs. He blew the motor. But at least another 5-6 drivers involved in contact. Gladfelter got some of the worst.
Yeah, that was a very hard hit for that 44 truck. A couple others involved. Brandon Edstrom went spinning. I believe Charles Abert may have been involved in that as well. Bobby Forbes with a huge hit to the outside wall there.
Yeah, poked across Edstrom.
Massive hit for that 5 machine. Whew.
Potentially both your contenders for the Lucky Dog getting contact in that, by the way. Abert was involved in the turnaround, you see. So now, with 33 to go, who tops off? Looks like a majority of the leaders staying out, except for Levron, Burnett, Henry on back. So about 5th on back, electing top off. Now, with this pit stop period, why don't we talk a little bit about the league warning penalty chart a little bit. 2 drivers have already gotten warnings for incident point levels. Now, in regards to the penalty chart, basically, if you receive a at-fault incident, you are under observation in level 1. You have to race 2 consecutive events with no at-fault incidents, and then you clear it. Level 2, you receive 2 additional at-fault incidents during the level 1 period. You go up to level 2, and then you're on probation. And it takes 3 races just to get to the first level of the pyramid. Level 3, you have the at-fault incidents with a penalty to be enforced the next race. Then you have to serve the penalty, finish with no faults, then go to level 2, or you picked up 3 penalties in a single race to get you to level 3. And you're basically on that watch for upwards of 4 or 5 races before you get yourself back to level 0 by the time you get through 2 and 1. Level 4, you do anything while causing an incident in level 3, you retaliate for an incident, you purposely cause a caution, use the Alt F4 to leave the racetrack, well, you immediately get a level 4 penalty. And then there's other penalties that get even higher restrictions at level 5. Level 6, you're banned from the league. Also, by the way, if you reach level 4, you get suspended. Level 5, you reach point deduction and race suspension territory. A few drivers have already picked up themselves some range towards the level 2 possibly tonight.
I tell you what, they don't mess around with their penalty system here. That's one of the more strict penalty systems I've seen, especially in a league race. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. That's going to weed out a lot of the more interesting drivers. How should we say?
And for those wondering, why can't I Alt F4? Well, what do you see in Alt F4 as, Nick?
Leaving the race, pretty much. It's
Why do you usually leave the race in that standard?
if you wreck, or if you blow your engine, or if you just rage quit in general.
Third one's the key.
Oh, rage quit.
That's a good one. That's a good point on why so many do it, especially if you say cause an incident and then immediately run away. Anyhow, yes. So, coming to 31 to go. Forbes, Zodiac, and Gaskins getting the worst damage from the incident. However, amongst those drivers, Gaskins has been able to clear the mandatory damage, but is electing to stay out of the truck. Forbes and Zodiac trying to get the repairs done. All while others, including damage repair, Martini, Abert, Glatfelter, Snyder, Root. Up at the front, Bob Hogue, Dave Fuchs Jr., followed by Marty and Tom Hogue, Henry, Burnett, Levron, Sailors, I should say, Hollyman, and Yost Jr. So, it's been an interesting night to start the season. By the way, there wasn't a lucky dog because both the one lap down cars got in the wreck, Nick.
That's one of the most frustrating things that you can have happen is when you're trying to fight for the lucky dog. You get into the lucky dog position and then you immediately get involved in the next caution. I tell you, but mainly from personal experience because I've had that happen a few times where it's definitely one of the more infuriating things that you can have happen. So it's definitely unfortunate, but the way that they've been going tonight, I wouldn't be surprised to see another caution so they can get that lucky dog going.
Keep an eye on how it goes. Abert and Martini, the ones racing for the lucky dog still, by the way. Everyone else, more than 4 minutes of damage already. Just about getting ready back to racing. Likely at least a 1 or 2 stopper to get to the end. Based on projections, most drivers going to be tight on the 1. Green flag is out, back underway. Good launch on the inside, and once again, everyone else trying to catch the 19.
That 19 car always getting good restarts. It seems to be the key to how you get out and get into the lead to make sure you can block whatever momentum is coming. Is just go early and gun it, and you'll eventually get your help back, as we see here. That's the 11 car of Dave Fuchs Jr. getting back up to the 19 machine coming off of 2, and they're going to go 3 wide off of 2 here.
Burnett does not want to work with Tom Hogue, and everyone shuffles Burnett in turn. Jordan Sailors immediately slamming the 95 forward. Nobody wants the third line yet.
I still think it's a little bit too early for that third line. We're within 30 to go now, so we may see some feelers trying to feel out that third line, but I really do not think we're going to see that third line until about 15-ish, 10 to go, somewhere around there. I think these guys are going to wait until after their final pit stop to really start testing that third line, so I'm a little bit surprised to see it being tested out that early, but hey, it never hurts to see if anyone wants to go.
At the same time, though, how do you get comfortability of racing 3 wide if you don't race 3 wide at Daytona?
It's just something you're going to have to get used to. You may not be comfortable with it, but you're going to have to do it if it means getting you a few more positions. And hey, come on, that's kind of the mentality of a race car driver. Do stuff you're not comfortable with.
Solid point. Gaskins, by the way, is amongst those back out with the repairs 3 laps down. The others have not returned. Bob Hogue, still working with Tom Hogue. And this is working exactly how the Team Busters corner trucks, I think, wanted this to go. Control both lines. It just took a couple restarts.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what we saw? Who was it? In the Xfinity series. They were doing the 3 wide thing, blocking all 3 lines. I can't remember the team name for the life of me right now.
That sounds like a colleague move.
There you go, colleague. I couldn't remember their team name for some reason.
What can you say? People like to hunt for trophies.
Hey, trophy hunting is pretty good, especially when you're getting a ton of money for it. Am I wrong here?
Remember, top 3 earn money in this series each race. A little checkup as Fuchs Jr. and Marty were both on the apron. Nobody stacks up mostly behind, though, and Tom Hogue leads for the first time.
I tell you what, both lines nearly wrecked there. You had something happen on the bottom, and they got a little bit sketchy up on the top, pushing off the corner. So you can definitely tell intensity's picking up here as we're getting closer and closer to this final pit stop. Oh my goodness!
Another close call. Already discussion on the radio with lap traffic coming up in Matthew Gaskins. And it leads to the question. Eventually, these tires do have some handling troubles, even in fixed setup racing. How much is this coming down to some of the tires? Because some people have not even taken a set tonight.
I don't really think this is a tire wear thing. I think people are starting to pick up the intensity. It could be a little bit of both, but for right now, I think it's definitely the intensity levels rising.
With under 30 to go, what can you say? Everybody wants to get to the front, or at least a fair portion of the field. Gaskin's already up to the top. Oh, and Tom Hogue trying to draft off of him. Gaskins moved down a touch in turn. And there they go for the lead. A big block. Jordan Sailors. That was under the yellow line. Was that a block from Tom Hogue, though?
He wasn't completely under the yellow line, but he did advance his position. That's going to be something race control looks at as they're getting sketchy off of 4 here. They keep it straight, but things are kicking off here. 30 laps to go. Or excuse me, 25 laps to go, and things are kicking off here in the SSRL Truck Series.
Clarification on that ruling, by the way, over the radio, Dave Fooch Jr. So they're just trying to understand that respective call. Tom Hogue, meanwhile, still holds on. That fall by Jordan Sailor, so they are still lined up the way they were previous. And not a surprise, but about 7th on back is starting to really back up and quickly from this.
I don't think this was voluntary a backup because of how sketchy it was getting, but it's definitely not a bad plan to back up a little bit here and just, you know, kind of hang out on the edge of the draft. That's definitely a strategy you'll see, especially in open racing with the official series. It's just kind of hang back a little bit off the draft just in case there is a big wreck. And with this lead pack, we've seen it a couple times. They look like they're getting ready to wreck here soon.
That all being said, Steve Martetti, who is in the lucky dog spot, has decided to say, you know what? I'm going to move up to the front. How? By staying in front of all my competitors, maybe race my lap back instead.
Definitely not a bad plan. It's definitely a strategy that you can see. If you can get hooked up with the Hogue brothers on the inside lining, they can push him back up to the lead. He'll be in perfect position should there be a wreck behind these guys. But for right now, he's sitting third on that outside line, and that outside line's not really going anywhere. So he's going to have to get down to that bottom and do it quickly, or else he's not going anywhere very fast.
Our bobble from Sailors on the bottom line. Keep in mind, both the Hogues, as well as Dave Fooch Jr. and Tanner Marty, are close to the window. About 3 to 5 laps away from pit stops for those respective drivers here. Everyone else can go about 6, 7 laps further. So that's going to make things interesting depending on how that goes. You have 2 needing to pit up at the front, 2 needing to pit at the back of the group.
Yeah, doing some quick math based on our numbers so far, they are 5 laps from the pit window. Those who pit under the stage caution are 5 laps from their pit window. Everyone else who pit under that final caution, they should be good till about 10-ish laps to go. So it's definitely going to throw a little bit of a wrench into how things are going to play out for the win here, but it's definitely starting to heat up here.
And you see some of that building up early with the stops, drivers to the bottom. You know who's back up here? With the new fender, Jacob Snyder. You see them up there. You see the difference now between the second group and the first. There's Snyder, though. Jacob Snyder able to move back up to 5th. It's been a long while. 2 incidents later, he's back.
And he is here for blood, too. He doesn't quite have any teammates with him as Brandon Edstrom still in that second pack. I don't see where RJ Root is. RJ Root's right behind Brandon Edstrom in that second pack, so he's got a little bit of work to do to get up to his teammate in that 4 machine. So we'll see how this plays out here. But if those teammates can get hooked up, we've seen what they did on the outside line to start this race. And I have no doubts that they'll be able to do it again.
Coming up to 21 laps to go here on Grid Vision. And not sure about that. Bob Hogue nearly turned himself down across the apron. And that's forced too wide all of a sudden. Because of that, Levron and Burnett both moved up.
It's going to put a little bit of momentum on that outside line. We'll have to see if anyone goes up there to play with them. But for right now, that inside line is just, it's got the numbers, it's got the momentum. And they definitely got the pushing help. Jordan Sailors is beating the rear bumper off of Bob Hogue in the 29. Or excuse me, that's Tom Hogue in the 95, sorry.
Still 1-3 for the Hogues, by the way. And you see that top line led up by Levron. He's one of those with some Team Watson backing in official competition. He is somebody, though, in the league scene I've seen do very solidly. Doesn't run as much officially, but can run decent in a league race like this.
You just saw right there how big of a run that the outside line got. It's because they're formed up so well. You really don't see that third truck pushing when it comes to trying to build momentum. But one thing that you do want to do, especially if you're a three-car tandem like we have here, is you kind of want to get up real close to the back end of that second car to give them kind of an air bump to keep them up on that first car, that lead car, to keep the momentum going. It's kind of it's a hard thing to learn, but it's sort of a lost art, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. If you don't know how to use just the air to push, it leads to a lot of drivers having that frustration, you have to argue, because you try to go for the slam draft, you're not moving forward easily. If anything, you're possibly wreck somebody.
Yeah, slam drafting is only something you're really going to see in the cup car. Really don't want to slam draft in the truck, because if you slam draft, that's going to lift up the rear end of the truck in front of you, and that's going to cause a huge wreck. We saw that once earlier tonight to start the race, and yeah, that ended up in a lot of wrecked race trucks, so you really don't want to be slam drafting.
Communication over the radio for pit stops with under 20 laps to go. Bob Hogue illustrates on the radio on the discussion. Kendall Levron dropping back on the top side after his first lead lap, by the way. And most of the numbers have moved up to the top in preparation. Tom Hogue's confirmed he's coming in this time behind the 95. The pit window is open.
Can expect both the Hogue brothers, to be in this lap then. Anyone else associated with that, and we're going to see 3-4 cars come down pit road. 5 actually in the back, so that's going to be a 5-car grouping that they're going to have to build some momentum there. Oh man, 19 almost spinning on the pit road there.
It was the 07 though, Charles Abert, who cut through the grass at the back of that queue, you may have noticed. So that may be an unsafe pit entry penalty. One of the Hogues also with an issue in the box. Let's take a look at the replay. This is Abert. He's in the race for the lucky dog with Martini. So he needs to go deep to keep up with him. He's a part of this group. He nearly made it.
Looks like he got some wheel hop going into the pits. Yep, it's exactly what it was. Downshifted into first. He's not going to get an unsafe pit entry. He may get an unsafe exit, but I'm not 100% sure. Back in the lead, though, 3 trucks. The Prodigy Esports Group, they're coming down pit road.
So they elect to go for the undercut. Leading the group is Snyder, Raymond Root, Brandon Edstrom, all in this time. So a 3-truck group. And keep in mind, some people argue, you just need 3 fast trucks to work together and you can break away. They have 3.
Yeah, you definitely can. It's a lot easier to do in the Cup car to be able to do that with a 3 or 4 car breakaway. It's definitely a bit harder in the truck, but I've seen it done before. And if anyone in this race can do it, it's those 3, definitely.
Leaders are coming in this time. Levron, Sailors, Marshall, part of this group. Henry already indicated he plans to drop down. There they go. This the money stop for the race. No slide throughs. Henry is spun in front of Burnett. A crash of the pit entry. Dave Foots Jr. collected as well. No caution. We stay green as Tanner Marty dodges.
Tanner Marty was also sideways, and that's going to ruin any chance that this lead pack had of keeping in front of that hard charging grouping that pit first. Unfortunate, but that's just the difficulties of getting into pit road at a track like Daytona. Some cars on the back getting in a little bit too hot, and it just leads to chaos on pit entry.
Right here, you can notice something wrong.
Lockups, that's what it was. 29 car locked up the rears, it looked like, and just sent him spinning.
So in turn, Marshall the first off the pit lane over Levron, but the pack of Edstrom, Root, Snutter, already zipping on the banking. There they are. Kendall Levron has rejoined the track with Marshall.
And right now, you're going to see the benefits of having a three-car tandem that can work together. They were doing 188 miles just as a tandem there, because Jacob Schneider, he's fallen off a bit. Looks like he's lost the draft of RJ Root almost. So if Jacob Schneider can get back up to that rear end of RJ Root, excuse me, they're going to be flying.
And Snyder back in the line. So, pit window closed. Under 15 laps to go. Let's take a very quick side-by-side. You're watching Grid Vision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision. Be sure to follow along on social media as well as to our YouTube channel. by hitting the like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to hit that bell for more notifications on coverage of sim racing action here on Grid Vision. Coming up to 10 laps to go, we nearly came back with a caution because 2 to 3 different drivers make contact in the second group. And as a result, Matthew Gaskin's drive-through penalty warning Jordan Sailors from this.
Man, it was a little bit bigger than I originally thought. I didn't see the 44 get involved in that. That definitely broke up that second group for a minute.
In turn, they have lost 10 seconds to this pack. 5 drivers with a chance to win with under 10 laps to go. Brandon Edstrom, Raymond Root, Edward Marshall, Jacob Snyder, Kendall Levron. Then the second pack features Bob Hogue, Tanner Marty, Tom Hogue, Jordan Sailors, Burnett, Fuchs Jr., and Hollyman also in the draft. They need a caution to have a chance to get up to the leading 5, though, because the pace difference is about up to a second.
I mean, you take a look at the times these lead packs are running. Brandon Edstrom just ran a 48.192, 190 miles an hour going into turn 1 there. Taking a look at the lead of the second pack was a 48.452 for Bob Hogue. So the time difference right now about a half a second, but once this first group gets going, they're going to be hitting some very, very fast times.
And we've seen what happened to end the stage before. We've seen the move on the back straightaway. Here's the tough part. You have 3 teammates lined up, 2 drivers who are not aligned with each other teammate-wise here in 8 laps to go. How do you try and get this win if you're not one of the Prodigy drivers? I'm asking this knowing you're a Prodigy driver.
Well, I mean, we're going to try to keep the bias out of it, but if you're one of these 2 drivers, there's no other choice. You have to work together. No matter if teammate alliance, what setup shop you drive for, it doesn't matter. If you want to win and you want to get into the money, you have to work together no matter what it takes. So I would definitely expect that 16 of Edward Marshall and the 28 of Kendall Levering to work together.
Keep an eye on how that plays out. They do have Snyder as the buffer between them. Coming to 7 laps to go. Have to say, though, not too much attrition for a season opener. Not bad to start off the new campaign with the standards coming in. The bar, well, it's been placed high.
Oh, yeah, definitely been one of the better plate races I've seen when it comes to league racing. We've had a few wrecks, but there haven't really been that many terminal wrecks. Of course, Matthew Gaskins was involved in one of those bigger wrecks. He got back out there, but unfortunately, it looks like his day is done. Forbes was involved, and a couple. Zosiak was involved in one as well. Just the 3 terminalities so far in terms of retirements. So definitely a lot cleaner of a plate race than what you would expect when it comes to iRacing.
By the way, Gaskins has parked it since that penalty. So we'll keep an eye on how this all goes here. Now down to 6 laps to go this time around. It's almost that calm before the storm we talk about so much. Somebody is going to make the move eventually. The problem is you make it too early, you show your hand too early, guess what? You leave too much time for the chance back, you think.
Yep, absolutely. We're just waiting for the momentum. The momentum, it's there. It's just you got to wait for the right moment to make it. And it looks like right now that momentum really isn't going to be able to be taken advantage of until probably, I would say backstretch on the last lap is around where we're going to see them move for this lead pack. But when it comes to that second pack and getting a higher finishing position, it's anyone's game. Let's be honest here.
5 laps to go from Daytona. About a little time to work with on the circuit. That leaves just about 12.5 miles to determine things here from the Super Speedway.
I'm just sitting here watching this lead pack, and this is exactly how you want to have a 5-car breakaway behave. You have RJ Root, for lack of a better word, beating the rear bumper off the 74 Brandon Edstrom. You got the 16 car of Edward Marshall. He's keeping up there with the air pushes with the 7 down the backstretch to keep that 7 connected. And this is exactly how you want to push. This is textbook how you want to push, especially in the trucks.
No major pushes outside of the air right now with 4 laps to go. Lap traffic is ahead. Does that speed up the process is a good question, because Glatfelter, Henry, and Abert are right in front of the leaders.
I don't think this is really going to mess with the race speed in terms of that second patch, or excuse me, that second pack catching, but it'll definitely try to mix things up a little bit as we get a little bit closer to the end of this. I don't know how this is going to handle with how the leader is going to want these guys to, for lack of a better, get out of the way, but it's definitely going to mix up this front pack a little bit, I think.
Oh, they are not moving. They're sticking to the bottom. Now they're moving up to the top. So no chance to shuffle things out there with the move between the bottom to the middle. 3 laps to go as the lap traffic stays as high as they can. No moves yet for the race win. Here comes a question. What if any of those drivers stay up here? Because they're now going to join the pack.
Those for position? No, I don't think those were for position.
It's not, but there's a chance you get somebody else who can factor the push.
Yeah, you're right about that. Looking at that, no pushes for momentum, and I can guarantee you that 7 of RJ Root, he is not going to leave the rear bumper, that 74. I'll bet you money if we take a listen into that Discord channel right now, they are saying, I am staying with you, Brandon. You are going to win this race. It's just a matter of how the 16 of Edward Marshall is going to handle this and how he's going to get any sort of help that he can from Kendall Levrun, because we already know Jacob Schneider isn't helping that 16 car.
Under 2 laps to go. 5 drivers with a chance to win the race. Lap traffic of Rabio stays up top. Root trying to set up one more push down the back straightaway. Levrun staying in line for now. No shuffles through. The lap cars behind starting to lose ground, in fact. So take them out of the equation for the push. Under a lap and a half to go.
Brandon Edstrom still leading this lead pack. RJ Root on the bumper. When does Edward Marshall make the move? That is the question now. That is the overbearing question. When does he make that move, and will Kendall Levrun go out to help him? And more importantly, will Jacob Schneider go out to help block that run for Brandon Edstrom and RJ Root here?
Final lap from Daytona. Edstrom trying to hold on. He's already led the most laps tonight. He's had to come back from a couple incidents to get to this point. Root giving him a shove down the straightaway. Levrun wants to go, but no one else wants to step out.
Oh,
and there's a push. Shoved out of the way is Raymond Root. Here comes the move for Marshall. Snyder gets loose and Edstrom gets hooked. A crash
Edstrom
behind his
upside
Levrun.
down.
Levrun's in the wall. Jacob Snyder is the only one to make it through the incident. Checker flag waves and Jacob Snyder, with his only lap led, steals it at Daytona. And the second pack is slammed into the lead pack incident. Fuchs Jr., Hoyman, and several more have crashed before the start and finish line. What a way to end off the first race in series history. Wow.
I'm still sitting here trying to wrap my head around what just happened. Because originally RJ Root got dumped. And then from there, it was just complete chaos. Brandon Edstrom ended up upside down in the fence, and I don't know what happened from there on.
The call over the radio was don't push the pusher, but I'm not sure what happened there with the block or if there was a hook. I'm not sure with Snyder.
I believe that wreck originally started with the 16 of Edward Marshall just giving a bad push to RJ Root. And that second pack wreck, that was just another bad push there and just ended up in a huge wreck. But Jacob Schneider out of nowhere winning that.
Jacob Snyder, he had the most damage in the lead pack from some of the contact. Would you believe it? Raymond Root is still at second. It's still a team 1-2, just not the way they drew it up.
Yeah, that's not the way that we expected it to finish, but hey, it's, wow.
So the first win in the history of the SSRL Truck Series goes to Jacob Snyder in firework-filled fashion. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results. Keyword unofficial after a large grouping of the field involved in the big one. And the last lap, Snyder, the only one to make it through the incident in the lead pack. Root in second. Bob Hogue then in turn was the first to make it through the second layer of the incidents with Tanner Marty behind. Tom Hogue, Dave Foots Jr., Mike Burnett, Edward Marshall, Blair Hollyman, and Jordan Sailors, your top 10. Everybody else finished a lap down or didn't finish.
Finishing in 11th, Brandon Edstrom 1 lap down. I believe he was completely taken out in that wreck. Kendall Levern finishing 12th. Philip Henry, he was in that second pack that had a huge wreck right behind that first main wreck. He finishes 13th. Rob Yost Jr. finishing in 14th. Finishing 15th is Adam Glatfelter. He was also involved in that original wreck. Steve Martney in 16th position. Charles Aber is going to be finishing 17th place, 2 laps down. And I believe he was the last car running tonight. Matthew Gaskins getting turned earlier in the race, finishing in 18th position.
That's a look top to bottom at the unofficial race results. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. Welcome back to Daytona, where the big one strikes on the final lap. Jacob Snyder holds off Raymond Root and Bob Hogue. However, Snyder was the only one to make it through said big one. Let's start things off with third all the way through to first in our discussions for post-race. Bob Hogue comes away with the third spot, but he did so after the big one happened in the lead pack and having to dodge a fair few amount of trucks. What was that viewpoint from you when the leaders started crashing, and then you guys are 2 by 2, a couple rows deep in fact, battling for third, and then everyone comes in full steam? Bob, do you have a mic? Bob Hogue, do you have a copy? Okay, we will return with Bob Hogue once we can on that point. Raymond Root now joins us. Does he have a mic? Apparently, we're having an issue here. Raymond Root, do you have a copy? Take 1 second here. So we'll try this once again. We're apparently having a technical issue in regards to the booth side of things, so we are going to borrow Bob Hogue's room here. Bob, do you have a copy now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I didn't have permission to speak earlier in that room. I didn't realize that the leaders had wrecked up there. I thought we had our own scuffle back where I was. I didn't see all that going up in front. And so when I came out, I go, wow, I'm third. I didn't even see that come. And a nice little fight there with Tanner and Marty. And him and I kind of going at it. But good run, good race, good host. It was a lot of fun.
Talk us through the strategy tonight between you and Tom, because it seemed you guys wanted to lead the lines at one point. But what was that discussion like in the team's Buster's Corner channel?
For us, it was really all about the tires. Us not running trucks before, but staying on the Cup side, do we need tires or not? I don't know. I'm not taking tires. So we didn't take tires. I didn't take any tires throughout the whole run. Tom took left sides only. That tightened them up. But I came out without taking tires. Hey, I'm in first. You're in second. How the heck did we do that?
Well, indeed, you guys both led some laps here tonight for you guys. But in turn, what's that focus now like the rest of the campaign? The first race in series history for the truck side, at least. Still plenty of races to go with Charlotte up next. Your thoughts on Charlotte?
I'm going to need to go practice Charlotte, that's for sure. Like I said, I still got to get the hang of these trucks and see what they're going to be like. Learned a lot tonight. I noticed we got a lot of Buster's Corner guys out here. That was a lot of fun. Good crowd. So we're just going to take it, one race at a time, and hopefully we can keep pushing forward. It was fun.
Well, on that note, Bob, congratulations on the top 3 run tonight. You start off the season with a 3rd place unofficially.
Sweet.
Bob Hogue comes away in the 3rd spot. 2nd spot tonight, going the way of Raymond Root. He gets to catch up with his teammate Nick.
RJ, it's next time up in the booth. You got a copy.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you ended up spinning on the backstretch on the white flag and somehow came away with a 2nd place finish. I mean, what were the emotions like on that last lap?
Well, going down the backstretch, I was extremely mad. Because, I mean, there's no reason to do what was done. I mean, everybody knows you can't push the pusher, and because you'll wreck the person in second. And so, getting dumped down the backstretch, I was beyond mad. And then I hear Brandon saying that they're wrecking, and coming out of the corner, I find out that I'm going to finish second. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll take it.
Well, we saw you playing pusher all night, pushing Brandon Edstrom for the majority of that final run, and just playing, I guess, playing catch-up. What was it like knowing that you had the damage and somehow managed to come away with that 2nd position after all that happened early in the race?
Well, I knew that our truck was still really fast. As soon as Brandon got his truck fixed, we knew that we were going to be pretty quick, and the truck still had life to them. So I just knew that as long as I was pushing somebody who had a slightly cleaner truck than me, that I knew that we were going to have whoever I was pushing was going to have a good shot at the win.
Well, congratulations on the 2nd place. Looking ahead to next week where y'all head to Charlotte Motor Speedway. In my opinion, one of the most fun tracks when it comes to the trucks. How are you feeling going into that race, and kind of the difference between that and what we had tonight late here at Daytona?
I'm a little nervous because I haven't ran the trucks at an actual racetrack in over a year, so it's going to be interesting trying to relearn how to drive these things, but also pretty excited because I used to be good in these, so.
Well, you did manage to win a championship. What was it, the 2021 Juggernaut Truck Series Championship in the trucks? So we wish you good luck, and again, congratulations on the P2 tonight.
Thank you.
Once again, that's RJ Root coming away in 2nd spot tonight. The win going to Jacob Snyder. Jacob, talk us through that final lap from your perspective. We heard already the perspective from Root and some of that with Edstrom's comments. In turn, what was your perspective on the crazy finish?
I don't even know what to think about it. I was honestly just content with finishing 3rd to my 2 teammates. I was trying to figure out how to make that happen, and everyone just disappeared in front of me.
Yeah, in turn, though, with all that, what was going through your mind when literally everybody else in your pack crashed?
I was a little flabbergasted, honestly. I was so shocked. And then it sunk in. I was like, I'm bringing home the money tonight.
Yeah, it's a $15 prize for taking home the victory to start the season. What's your experience like in the trucks? Because Root mentioned he was more experienced with the Cup cars and hadn't used the truck in a year. What's your experience like?
Pretty similar to that. We all race all of us at Prodigy, we race the Cup car a lot, and we're trying to get better at the trucks this winter, and this is a good start, I guess.
Charlotte's next. Your thoughts on Charlotte?
I do like that track. I'm glad it's not the Roval. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What if we make it the Legends Oval?
Still better than the Roval.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Jacob, on the victory.
I appreciate it, guys.
Jacob Snyder coming away with the victory tonight here in the SSRL Truck Series. Like to thank him as well as Raymond Root, Bob Hogue for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. And what a way to start things off, Nick. Obviously not the way anybody drew up the finish, but here we are.
I mean, when you take a look at it, that's you really can't draw up a certain finish, especially at a plate track with how crazy things can get. And I mean, we saw it in the greatest example possible tonight. We were expecting, we were kind of expecting momentum to shift on that final lap, and then it ended up with a ton of wrecked race trucks. So, I mean, that just proves right there that you really can't write up a finish here at a plate track.
Remember, still 11 more races to go on the schedule, with Charlotte up next on October the 5th. 100 laps at the mile-and-a-half circuit, staged at lap 50. Coverage again starting 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on Grid Vision. Speaking of Grid Vision, let's take a look at what's coming up on the docket. Still plenty of racing action to go entering the week and throughout the rest of the week. Amongst those races coming up, LIS Open is at Talladega tomorrow night. Be sure to tune in for Southwood coverage. We'll see how things go. When drivers go 4, 5, 6 wide, after all, they've been doing drag races down on the apron on the back straightaway with how busy things have gone. Then, GRL heads Talladega 2 on Sunday, 12:03 p.m. Eastern. Then at 9 p.m., it's the chase for the Kailu Cup with RGR at Darlington. All that here on Grid Vision. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. For my colleague in the booth tonight and Nick Stein, for Austin Derbyshire, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the series opener for the SSRL Truck Series from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. Congratulations to Jacob Snyder, your winner from the World Center of Racing.